A syllable is a unit of organization for a sequence of speech sounds. For example, the word water is composed of two syllables, wainta. A syllable is typically made up of a syllable nucleus with optional initial and final margins. Syllables are often considered the phonological building blocks of words. They can influence the rhythm of a language, its prosody, its poetic meter and its stress patterns. Syllabic writing began several hundred years before the first letters. The earliest recorded syllables are on tablets written around 2800 BC in the Sumerian city of Ur. This shift from pictograms to syllables has been called the most important advance in the history of writing. A word that consists of a single syllable is called a monosyllable. Similar terms include disyllable for a word of two syllables, trisyllable for a word of three syllables, and polysyllable, which may refer either to a word of more than three syllables or to any word of more than one syllable. Structure. In most theories of phonology, the general structure of a syllable consists of three segments: onset, consonant, obligatory in some languages, optional or even restricted in others, nucleus, sonorant, obligatory in most languages, coda, consonant, optional in some languages, highly restricted or prohibited in others. The syllable is usually considered right-branching, that is, nucleus and coda are grouped together as a rhyme, and are only distinguished at the second level. However, in some traditional descriptions of certain languages, the syllable is considered left-branching, that is, onset and nucleus group below a higher level unit, called a body, or core, rhyme. Right branch, contrasts with onset, splits into nucleus and coda, body or core. Left branch, contrasts with coda, splits into onset and nucleus. In some theories the onset is strictly consonantal, thus necessitating another segment before the nucleus, initial, often termed onset, but leaving out semi-vowels, medial, glide between initial, if any, and nucleus or rhyme, final, contrasts with initial, extended rhyme, although every syllable has suprasegmental features. These are usually ignored if not semantically relevant, for example internal languages. Tone may be carried by the syllable as a whole or by the rhyme. In some theories of phonology, these syllable structures are displayed as tree diagrams. Not all phonologists agree that syllables have internal structure. In fact, some phonologists doubt the existence of the syllable as a theoretical entity. The nucleus is usually the vowel in the middle of a syllable. The onset is the sound or sounds occurring before the nucleus, and the coda is the sound or sounds that follow the nucleus. They are sometimes collectively known as the shell. The term rhyme covers the nucleus plus coda. In the one-syllable English word cat, the nucleus is a, the onset c, the coda t, and the rhyme at. This syllable can be abstracted as a consonant-vowel consonant syllable, abbreviated CVC. Languages vary greatly in the restrictions on the sounds making up the onset, nucleus and coda of a syllable, according to what is termed a language's phonotactics. Onset. The onset is the consonant sound or sounds at the beginning of a syllable, occurring before the nucleus. Most syllables have an onset. Some languages restrict onsets to be only a single consonant, while others allow multi-consonant onsets according to various rules. For example, in English, onsets such as PR, PL and TR are possible but TL is not, and SK is possible but KS is not. In Greek, however, both KS and TL are possible onsets, while contrarily in Classical Arabic no multi-consonant onsets are allowed at all. Some languages require all syllables to have an onset. In these languages a null onset such as in the English word it is not possible. This is less strange than it may appear at first, as most such languages allow syllables to begin with a phonemic glottal stop. Furthermore, in English and most other languages, a word that begins with a vowel is automatically pronounced with an initial glottal stop when following a pause, whether or not a glottal stop occurs as a phoneme in the language. Consequently, few languages make a phonemic distinction between a word beginning with a vowel and a word beginning with a glottal stop followed by a vowel, since the distinction will generally only be audible following another word. This means that the difference between a syllable with a null onset and one beginning with a glottal stop is often purely a difference of phonological analysis, rather than the actual pronunciation of the syllable. In some cases, the pronunciation of a vowel initial word when following another word particularly, whether or not a glottal stop is inserted indicates whether the word should be considered to have a null onset. For example, many Romance languages such as Spanish never insert such a glottal stop, while English does so only some of the time, depending on factors such as conversation speed. In both cases, this suggests that the words in question are truly vowel initial. But there are exceptions here too. For example, Standard German and Arabic both require that a glottal stop be inserted between a word and a following, putatively vowel initial word. Yet such words are said to begin with a vowel in German but a glottal stop in Arabic. The reason for this has to do with other properties of the two languages. For example, a glottal stop does not occur in other situations in German, for example before a consonant or at the end of word. On the other hand, in Arabic, not only does a glottal stop occur in such situations, but it occurs in alternations that are clearly indicative of its phonemic status. The writing system of a language may not correspond with the phonological analysis of the language in terms of its handling of null onsets. For example, in some languages written in the Latin alphabet, an initial glottal stop is left unwritten. On the other hand, some languages written using non-Latin alphabets such as Abjads and Abugidis have a special zero consonant to represent a null onset. As an example, in Hangul, the alphabet of the Korean language, a null onset is represented with a at the left or top section of the grapheme, as in I, station, pronounced yeek, where the diphthong yo is the nucleus and k is the coda. Nucleus. The nucleus is usually the vowel in the middle of a syllable. Generally, every syllable requires a nucleus, and the minimal syllable consists only of a nucleus, as in the English words I, or O. The syllable nucleus is usually a vowel, in the form of a monophthong, diphthong, or triphthong, but sometimes is a syllabic consonant. By far the most common syllabic consonants are sonorants like L, R, M, N, or angstrom, but a few languages have so-called syllabic fricatives, also known as fricative vowels. Mandarin Chinese is famous for having such sounds in at least some of its dialects, for example the pinyin syllable za sha ra, sometimes pronounced za I copyright a e respectively. A few languages, such as nucleus, even allow stop consonants and voiceless fricatives as syllabic nuclei. However, linguists have analyzed this situation in various ways, some arguing that such syllables have no nucleus at all, and some arguing that the concept of syllable cannot clearly be applied at all to these languages. See the discussion below concerning syllable-less languages. Coda. The coda comprises the consonant sounds of a syllable that follow the nucleus, which is usually a vowel. The combination of a nucleus and a coda is called a rhyme. Some syllables consist only of a nucleus with no coda. Some languages' phonotactics limits syllable codas to a small group of single consonants, whereas others allow any consonant phoneme or even clusters of consonants. A coda-less syllable of the form V, CV, CCV, etc. is called an open syllable, while a syllable that has a coda is called a closed syllable. Note that they have nothing to do with open and closed vowels. Almost all languages allow open syllables, but some, such as Hawaiian, do not have closed syllables. Note that when a syllable is not the last syllable in a word, the nucleus normally must be followed by two consonants in order for the syllable to be closed. This is because a single following consonant is typically considered the onset of the following syllable. For example, Spanish "casa tomar" is composed of an open syllable followed by a closed syllable, whereas "cansar" to get tired is composed of two closed syllables. When a geminate consonant occurs, the syllable boundary occurs in the middle, for example Italian pane cream. Cf. Italian pane bread. English single-syllable words that have both a nucleus and a coda, where I1/2 denotes nucleus, and I coda, in I1/2 equals, I equals, cup, I1/2 equals, I equals, tall, I1/2 equals, I equals, milk, I1/2 equals, I equals, tints, I1/2 equals, I equals, fifths, I1/2 equals, I equals, sixths, I 1/2 equals, I equals, twelfths, I 1/2 equals, I equals, strengths, I 1/2 equals, I equals. The following single-syllable words end in a nucleus and do not have a coda, glue. I 1/2 equals, pie, I 1/2 equals or, though, I 1/2 equals or, boy, I 1/2 equals. A list of examples of syllable codas in English is found at English Phonology, Coda. Rhyme. The rhyme or rhyme of a syllable consists of a nucleus and an optional coda. It is the part of the syllable used in most poetic rhymes, and the part that is lengthened or stressed when a person elongates or stresses a word in speech. The rhyme is usually the portion of a syllable from the first vowel to the end. For example, is the rhyme of all of the words at, sat, and flat. However, the nucleus does not necessarily need to be a vowel in some languages. For instance, the rhyme of the second syllables of the words bottle and fiddle is just a liquid consonant. Rhyme and rhyme are variants of the same word, but the rarer form rhyme is sometimes used to mean specifically syllable rhyme to differentiate it from the concept of poetic rhyme. This distinction is not made by some linguists and does not appear in most dictionaries. Structure. The simplest model of syllable structure divides each syllable into an optional onset, an obligatory nucleus and an optional coda. There exist, however, many arguments for a hierarchical relationship, rather than a linear one, between the syllable constituents. This hierarchical model groups the syllable nucleus and coda into an intermediate level, the rhyme. The hierarchical model accounts for the role that the nucleus plus coda constituent plays in verse, and for the distinction between heavy and light syllables, which plays a role in phonological processes such as, for example, sound change in Old English sipu and Urdu. Just as the rhyme branches into the nucleus and coda, the nucleus and coda may each branch into multiple phonemes. Medial and final. In the phonology of some East Asian languages, especially Chinese, the syllable structure is expanded to include an additional, optional segment known as a medial, which is located between the onset and the rhyme. The medial is normally a glide consonant, but reconstructions of Old Chinese generally include liquid medials, and many reconstructions of Middle Chinese include a medial contrast between and, where the functions phonologically as a glide rather than as part of the nucleus. In addition, many reconstructions of both Old and Middle Chinese include complex medials such as, and. The medial groups phonologically with the rhyme rather than the onset, and the combination of medial and rhyme is collectively known as the final. Some linguists, especially when discussing the modern Chinese varieties, use the terms final and rhyme interchangeably. In historical Chinese phonology, however, the distinction between final and rhyme is important in understanding the rhyme dictionaries and rhyme tables that form the primary sources for Middle Chinese, and as a result most authors distinguish the two according to the above definition. Tone. In most languages, the pitch or pitch contour in which a syllable is pronounced conveys shades of meaning such as emphasis or surprise, or distinguishes a statement from a question. In tonal languages, however, the pitch affects the basic lexical meaning or grammatical meaning. In some languages, only the pitch itself has this effect, while in others, especially East Asian languages such as Chinese, Thai or Vietnamese, the shape or contour also needs to be distinguished. Weight. A heavy syllable is generally one with a branching rhyme, that is it is either a closed syllable that ends in a consonant, or a syllable with a branching nucleus, that is a long vowel or diphthong. The name is a metaphor, based on the nucleus or coda having lines that branch in a tree diagram. In some languages, heavy syllables include both VV and VC syllables, contrasted with V, which is a light syllable. In other languages, only VV syllables are considered heavy, while both VC and V syllables are light. Some languages distinguish a third type of super-heavy syllable, which consists of VVC syllables or VCC syllables or both. In Moraik theory, heavy syllables are said to have two moras, while light syllables are said to have one and super-heavy syllables are said to have three. Japanese phonology is generally described this way. Many languages forbid super-heavy syllables, while a significant number forbid any heavy syllable. Some languages strive for consonant syllable weight. For example, in stressed, non-final syllables in Italian, short vowels co-occur with closed syllables while long vowels co-occur with open syllables, so that all such syllables are heavy. The difference between heavy and light frequently determines which syllables receive stress. This is the case in Latin and Arabic, for example. The system of poetic meter in many classical languages, such as Classical Greek, Classical Latin, Old Tamil and Sanskrit, is based on syllable weight rather than stress. A classical definition, Guilhem Molinier, a member of the Consistory del Gai Saber, which was the first literary academy in the world and held the Floral Games to award the best troubadour with the Violet d'Or top prize, gave a definition of the syllable in his Laesdemer, a book aimed at regulating the then flourishing Occitan poetry. Suprasegmentals, the domain of suprasegmental features is the syllable and not a specific sound, that is to say, they affect all the segments of a syllable. Stress tone station D, sometimes syllable length is also counted as a suprasegmental feature. For example, in some Germanic languages, long vowels may only exist with short consonants and vice versa. However, syllables can be analyzed as compositions of long and short phonemes, as in Finnish and Japanese, where consonant gemination and vowel length are independent. Phonotactic constraints. Phonotactic rules determine which sounds are allowed or disallowed in each part of the syllable. English allows very complicated syllables. Syllables may begin with up to 3 consonants, and occasionally end with as many as 4. Many other languages are much more restricted. Japanese, for example, only allows antichronon in a coda, and theoretically has no consonant clusters at all, as the onset is composed of at most 1 consonant. There are languages that forbid empty onsets, such as Hebrew and Arabic. Conversely, some analyses of the Arrant language of Central Australia posit that no onsets are permitted at all in that language, all syllables being underlyingly of the shape VC, C. Notation. The International Phonetic Alphabet provides the period as the symbol for marking syllable breaks. In practice, however, IPA transcription is typically divided into words by spaces, and often these spaces are also understood to be syllable breaks. When a word space comes in the middle of a syllable, a tie bar can be used for liaison. Syllabification. Syllabification is the separation of a word into syllables, whether spoken or written. In most languages, the actually spoken syllables are the basis of syllabification in writing too. Due to the very weak correspondence between sounds and letters in the spelling of modern English, for example, written syllabification in English has to be based mostly on etymological, that is morphological, instead of phonetic principles. English written syllables therefore do not correspond to the actually spoken syllables of the living language. Syllabification may also refer to the process of a consonant becoming a syllable nucleus. Syllable division and ambisyllabicity. Most commonly, a single consonant between vowels is grouped with the following syllable, while 2 consonants between vowels are split between syllables. In some languages, however, such as Old Church Slavonic, any group of consonants that can occur at the beginning of a word is grouped with the following syllable nucleus. Hence, a word such as PAZDVA would be syllabified. Contrarily, in some languages, any group of consonants that can occur at the end of a word is grouped with the preceding syllable nucleus. In English, it has been disputed whether certain consonants occurring between vowels should be grouped with the preceding or following syllable. For example, a word such as better is sometimes analyzed as and sometimes. Some linguists have in fact asserted that such words are ambisyllabic, with a consonant shared between the preceding and following syllables. However, Wells argues that this is not a useful analysis, and that English syllabification is simply. In English, consonants have been analyzed as acting simultaneously as the coda of one syllable and the onset of the following syllable, as in bellow bellow, a phenomenon known as ambisyllabicity. It is argued that words such as arrow can't be divided into separately pronounceable syllables, neither nor is a possible independent syllable, and likewise with the other short vowels /e/o/ish/. However, Wells argues against ambisyllabicity in English, positing that consonants and consonant clusters are codas when after a stressed syllable followed by an unstressed syllable, or after a full vowel and followed by a reduced syllable, and are onsets in other contexts. Stress. Syllable structure often interacts with stress. In Latin, for example, stress is regularly determined by syllable weight, a syllable counting as heavy if it has at least one of the following: a long vowel in its nucleus, a diphthong in its nucleus, one or more coda, e. In each case the syllable is considered to have two morae. Vowel tenseness. In most Germanic languages, lax vowels can occur only in closed syllables. Therefore, these vowels are also called checked vowels, as opposed to the tense vowels that are called free vowels because they can occur even in open syllables. Nucleusless syllables. The notion of syllable is challenged by languages that allow long strings of consonants without any intervening vowel or sonorant. Even in English there are a few paraverbal utterances that have no vowels. For example, SHH and PSST. Languages of the northwest coast of North America, including Cilician and Wakashan languages, are famous for this. Nuxa LK, EETETSXEU spat on me, TSE 1/4 KTSKE 1/4 he arrived, XEPE 1/4 IETEPS, he had in his possession a bunchberry plant, SXS seal blubber. In Bajamal's survey of previous analyses, he finds that the word TSE 1/4 KTSKE TSE 1/4 would have been parsed into 0, 2, 3, 5, or 6 syllables depending which analysis is used. One analysis would consider all vowel and consonant segments as syllable nuclei, another would consider only a small subset as nuclei candidates, and another would simply deny the existence of syllables completely. This type of phenomenon has also been reported in Berber languages, Moroccan Arabic, Mona Euro-Khmer languages and Oegami. Endorn Tashlahite Berber, TFTKTSTTFKTSTTU sprained it and then gave it, RKKM rot, semi, KCKMREAC, short, fat arms, see also. References. Sources and recommended reading. External links. Syllable Dictionary, look up the of syllables in a word. Learn to divide into syllables. Hear it pronounced. Do syllables have internal structure? What is their status in phonology? CUNY Phonology Forum.